Leni, hi, how are you today?
I am wonderful, thank you. And how are you, Mary?
I'm great too.
Good, glad to hear that.
How was your week?
Well, I was starting to bump into things and dropping things, and so I needed to take time out. So I spent the last week just being quiet and introspecting, and have sort of had a few aha moments. And so I think I'm back on track again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you paid attention to that. You know, so many times we'll bump into things will happen, and we keep pressing forward as if that's going to make it better rather than stopping and realizing those were messages telling us to stop, right? Slow down.
I have an agreement with the universe, and it sounds a little pretentious, but I have sort of asked, when I don't pay attention and when I get sidetracked, give me little reminders. So when I drop cups or knock over the coffee I just made, I know it's time, because I just got the message. Pull back, be quiet, and just be by yourself, and it usually helps. So I'm back on track again.
Good.
I hope.
I'm glad. I'm sure you are, and I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, we are so excited to have Kristina Ann Knapic with us today. She is also known as the Magic Love Coach. She's an intimacy and relationship coach who helps women awaken their feminine energy, heal from toxic relationships, and manifest the life and love of their dreams. Kristina reclaimed her power after surviving domestic violence and rediscovered her ability to consciously create her reality. Now she guides women to do the same, blending quantum healing, embodiment, and sensual empowerment to help them rise from heartbreak into their highest vibration. She's the creator of the Sparkle Method and Awaken Your Sparkle retreats, where women learn to reconnect with their magic, magnetism, and joy. We're so glad to have you here, Kristina.
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Leni. Yes.
So can you begin maybe by telling us about surviving domestic violence? Do you mind talking about that? It's got to be painful and hard.
Yes, and I have found that through like a lot of the therapy I've done, that it's actually not good for us physically to like recount like the whole story. So I kind of shorten it down to, but it's because our bodies don't really understand that when we have these thoughts or memories or talk about it, it's like reliving in our body. So it like affects you like physically, which I discovered because of course I was talking a lot about it. And but I used to live in Ojai, and I had a wedding venue and a bed and breakfast there, and I was doing weddings and having a blast, and I was single. I'd been out of a toxic relationship for like 2 years, and I was starting to think, well, maybe I should like think about meeting someone else, meeting a romantic partner. So I made myself a list on everything that I wanted in a man, and I had someone guide me to do this, right? So I made this list, and it was in like beginning of 2020, and 6 months later, this man shows up at my door. He was like some friends of mine. He was moving to Ojai, and our lunch like became like hours long because we had so much in common, and like we just meshed. He felt like someone I'd known my whole life.
I love when that
so
happens, though. That connection.
We had
immediate.
so many synchronicities, and like we had like the same pet names growing up for our pets. Like we lived on the same street. Like we had hundreds of synchronicities, right? And then 3 days after I met this man, like we started spending a lot of time together, and he one evening he touched my skin and just like ran his hand like up my arm, and my whole body shook. Like I had this whole experience of a Kundalini activation. from him touching me. Have you ever experienced a Kundalini awakening?
No, I don't think
No, I haven't.
like what you've talked
No.
about. What the feeling behind that, was it a positive or a
Yes.
negative? Oh, it was
Yes,
positive.
it feels
Okay.
like complete bliss.
Oh,
it feels
okay.
like you're one with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
A Kundalini like awakening, and a lot of people have a Kundalini awakenings from different things. They can be from, I know somebody's told me they fell and they had an awakening, or I actually had already had my awakening from a Reiki healer that had done a session on me. And what it does is it fires up all your chakras so that you're vibrating on this other consciousness where you feel you're activating all these like psychic abilities, and but it's this feeling of oneness that you get where you feel like you're connected to everything in the universe.
Beautiful.
And it's what people do, like say Kundalini yoga or other types of yoga or breath work. They could spend years doing this practice to try to get themselves to this enlightened state where you realize that we are all one with the universe. And I had this from this man touching me, you know? And so I went and like looked this up online. I'm like, what is this that's happened to me? Why would I have this experience with this person? And it said, you've met your twin flame. And I had never heard of anything about twin flames before, so I really dived into this whole twin flame story, and the more time that we spent together, the more synchronicities and magic and miracles would happen all the time.
Is a twin flame like what we used to call soulmate, or is it different? Something different?
Well, the twin flame, they say that it's actually your it's your other half of your spirit, that when our souls were created on this plane, it may not even be on the earthly plane, but when our souls were created, they were split apart, and that we come back together in certain lifetimes to do the healing work and create magic for the planet, and like because the love is so powerful, right? The love is like so powerful. And that's how I felt in this relationship, like that our frequency was so high because we were in that like love state that people would feel it and they'd be affected by it. And we would go places and people would just send us a bottle of champagne, or like give us a free dinner, or like free hotel stays, like wherever we were going.
So people were really picking up on that and feeling that energy.
Yeah. And
wow.
That's why like love in itself is like one of the most powerful vibrations we can have on this planet, is the power of love. And I had decided before I met him that I wanted to move to Mexico, and I had rented a house in La Mission, and he had decided he was going to move to Ojai, and so he wasn't really planning to move with me down here, but I had him come with me to like see my place. And the house I rented in La Mission has these blue trash cans out front, right? You know, those, and his last name was on the trash can.
What?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I think that's a synchronicity. You're like meant to be here. And he's like, I don't know, you know, I'm not ready to move to Mexico. And we just kept having more of those magical moments, like miracles and magic would happen all the time. I have pictures of like hearts everywhere. Like every time we would, do you have this? Yeah, you have a lot of hearts.
Yes, I do. In the other room,
And that's a synchronicity, is like when you're really into collecting hearts, right? And then you go places and you see the hearts all over the place, right?
Particular
Yes.
activation system.
Yes.
Yes.
So we were seeing hearts like that. I remember our 6-month anniversary. I just thought, like, let's go to the spa, you know, and get massages on our 6-month anniversary. We walked in there and they had a big sign. It said happy 6th anniversary, and there were hearts hanging all over the ceiling. Yeah. And I took pictures. I was like, And they weren't just hearts, they had flames on them. Because we were like these twin flames, right? Twin flame hearts all hanging from the ceiling. It happened to be their 6-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
But it was ours like 6 months. So it was like we were just guided, just divinely guided on this journey, and for like 1.5 years, and it was super magical. And I even planned, like I was a wedding planner, right? And we decided to get married, and I thought, what would be the coolest wedding that I could have, right? As a wedding planner. And I ended up getting the pirate ship that's in San Diego on the harbor.
Oh,
and
yes.
having like this magical pirate ship wedding. And all my friends came dressed like steampunk kind of pirate style, you know.
How fun. I bet that was wonderful.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. And then I feel like our psychic powers were like extra high because of our energy together. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this when you're around other high vibe or magical people, that you notice like how your vibe gets lifted
Synchronizes.
Oh, yeah.
It synchronizes, right? And I've noticed this now that when I'm around other magical people, like I'll start seeing repeating numbers. Do you ever see the repeating numbers? Like the 1111s, the 222s?
No.
Yeah.
I can say I have.
So I had that happen with him from the very beginning. It was always like these repeating numbers all the time. On receipts, on the clock, like, you know, the total on the gas gauge on the, you know, when we were buying gas, like it would all be, and I was just like, what is this? And so we ended up getting married on 11/11 because that was like the synchronicity number, right? Yeah. And then 4 months later, he had planned to go meet a friend in Costa Rica, and he went to this fruitarian retreat where all they eat is fruit, which at the time we thought that was crazy, you know. Who eats just fruit?
Yeah.
Who would just eat fruit like 24/7? That's all they eat, right? So he went and did this retreat, and what I didn't realize was, you know, he was a daily, you know, cannabis user, which I know a lot of people that use cannabis lately, like, you know, daily. And he stopped using it at that retreat and then was eating fruit like every day. That when he came back, he was super manic because he had stopped using the cannabis and he was eating all this fruit, and he also had an affair while he was there. So this is like 4 months after. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 4 months after we were like happily, blissfully married, and he, yeah, with a much younger girl. And then when he came back, he was super manic and so excited about this girl that he left that part out about having an affair. He just said that she was a healer and that he insisted that she move to Mexico to like be with us so that he could have a relationship with both of us.
But you didn't know he had had an affair with her?
Not at first, no.
Uh-huh.
No. But he was just like obsessed talking about her every day.
Wow.
Ooh, that's really big.
But this doesn't even, I mean, I'm a little confused here because it doesn't sound at all like the picture you've painted of him, and suddenly there's this dramatic, it seems to me dramatic,
Yes.
change.
Yes.
Do you think it had something to do with all the natural sugar and too much of that or something?
I think so.
Detoxifying.
I think so, and I think he was bipolar, and I think the cannabis use was hiding that mental illness. Yeah, and then he became full of rage. So that's what my therapist said. He was borderline personality disorder and bipolar, but he was hiding it with that.
Wow.
With that.
So how did that make you feel? How did you handle that?
Well, at first, I got like a therapist to work with us, to have him like understand that wasn't how our relationship was going to go. Like I wasn't going to have a third party, you know, in this relationship. And what's really interesting about reading this twin flame journey, that this comes up with twin flames a lot, and that they it's like they have this, the men have siphoned this energy from the women, and then they want to share it with all these other women because they suddenly feel like their egos are just blasted with all this like super powerful energy that they want to share. And he had the therapist manipulated to think that they should be together doing healing work. Like he had her thinking that it was.
So how did you go from that situation into the physical abuse?
Well, then that's when he went into the rage, was that because I wouldn't let her come.
Did she come here?
No,
Okay.
Because I wouldn't let her. That's when he went crazy, and psychotic, and then I had to escape.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it went from like being, I was the happiest I've ever been in my life, to like running and hiding out and away from him until I could get the divorce to go through.
In a very short time period, really.
Oh
And
yeah,
it changed
went,
dramatically.
oh yeah, very dramatic. Yeah, that the psychosis was very. It was over maybe like a 2-week period that just accelerated worse. Got worse like every day.
So was he physically abusive to you, or was it verbal abuse, or both?
It was emotional abuse, and then that one night when he went crazy, like he pinned me to the wall and like wouldn't, it was like when he was in a rage. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen someone's eyes turn completely black, but it's like it's something that
It's very alarming.
Creates complete like PTSD from that situation.
So do you have PTSD now?
I did, but I've done a lot of healing work on it to like clear that energy.
That must have been so frightening too at that moment. Someone you really loved and cared about, and then seeing them totally different.
Yeah.
Become a monster in a sense.
That's the Jekyll and Hyde situation that they say about narcissists, is that they wear this mask that you think that they are like, they love you and they're everything about you, and really what they're doing is, a lot of it is mirroring you. They're mirroring you. Now that I look back, I'm like, how much was he really telling me the truth? Or like, was he, because a lot of the synchronicities I could verify, but maybe some of it he was also making up, that we had all these similarities too.
So how long were you married altogether?
About 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you deal with the disappointment? It must have been absolutely devastating.
Oh yeah. Yes, it was. I did a lot of therapy. The first thing I had to do, because I had so much PTSD, and I've never experienced that before. I mean, I had an abusive relationship before, but I never had it get so embedded into my brain where it was like this constant loop of over and over and over again in my mind, that this repeating situation. And I did neurofeedback, was one of the first things I tried to help kind of clear that memory, the repeated trauma memories. And then
Conversation.
Yeah.
Because it is really a conversation that you have in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're trying to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't make any sense that this person could be so kind and loving, and then literally the switch flips and they're like trying to kill you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then it doesn't end with that. Like the getting away from him was difficult too. At first he wanted the divorce because he then thought, oh, I can be with her now. The
other
girl.
woman.
Yeah. And then that ended up not working out, and then he came back and then stalked me, and so I was living here in La Mission, and I had to move a couple times. I had to get a restraining order, because then he started to lose all those abilities that he had absorbed from me. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. Women have so much power, like literal magical powers of manifestation and creation, and we give away our power
all the time.
All the time to
Yeah.
people, to other people, to men especially. And we build these men up so much, like we help them to become successful.
Well, we live in a patriarchal
Yes.
society,
Right.
and we have been fed that food all our lives, and that's very, very difficult to step back from.
Right, right.
And I think we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back in just one moment.
Okay.